Testing, testing, one, two, three. Okay. So, hi guys. I'm just trying to see if this is working. My name is Maya. And Maya means life. And that's a name that has always been like really important to me because that's one thing that I've always had like within me, no matter what. That's the one thing that I've always chosen to choose, even when I think I didn't have a choice, like my life. And that name means so much to me because also I love the poet Maya Angelou, and she was a very beautiful person as far as like her words and her poetry and how she embraced the many different sides of her based off of the things that she like overcame. And for me, with my name on TikTok, I wanted to combine that because Maya means life. And then my all, I've always given that. I've always given like my all to things. And I've always given like so much of myself that I had to realize that it was something that became like alchemy kind of. So I chose to combine like my name and like giving my all and was like my all, my alchemy, my alchemy. So I just decided to do that and make that my name. And what I want to do is I want to make that into like my podcast name. I don't know if anybody has this name yet, so I'll see. I'll check it out. But I did want to combine those two things together, or actually no, those three things together. Like when I looked up what alchemy was or is, alchemy is basically like combining things to make like them into other things or like other properties, I guess. I should have looked up the definition before I did this. But I think one of the things that I've always been is I've always been like very transparent with the type of person that I am, what I want to do, what I want to be. And I'm learning that in this world and in this society, this isn't something that a lot of people like understand. You have to be either this or that. And even in the whole conversation of people holding like nuance and things like that, people still like to push things into it's either this or that. Yeah, like I'm giving you nuance, but I'm giving you nuance because I need to be this, I need it to be that, right? So everything that I've gone through in my life, I was just like really sitting back and just like thinking of a lot of different things that I've overcome. And you can really say like I've had a crazy life. Like it hasn't been like a good life at all. On my TikTok, like I have bits and pieces of like my story, and there's just some things that I don't share because of ironically in this world, that's what I said, like in this world, like sharing certain things can make you like a target because also I don't have the like stable protection I need to like keep myself safe from a lot of things. And when you look a certain way, when you just even just being a woman, people feel entitled to your space. People feel entitled to your story. People feel entitled to like your information. And if you're a person that doesn't have the protection that you need, then that's a vulnerability. And I've been noticing just with the culture and society of just being a survivor, being someone who has a complicated background, but chooses radical honesty because I cannot be what my environment was pushing me to be, I realized that unfortunately it does put me sometimes in like a dangerous position. So for me, just being a survivor, me being an overcomer, I have to realize that that can also like flatten my story, because if that's all that people see me as, like just bits and pieces of like what I've gone through, then they don't see like who I am. And I know that I'm not the only person that feels that way. That a lot of times when, you know, like people go through different things in life, like they do change. Like there's different versions of them that they have to adapt to get through what they're getting through, right? And I'm learning that in like internal family systems. I'm learning that in just psychology in general, that a lot of times we do have to compartmentalize. And for me, I am a survivor, I am an overcomer, but I'm over being like a symbol of trauma. I'm over being a person that has to give somebody like a narrative about my life. I have to sit there and like tap dance about, or just be like, oh, this has happened to me over and over and over again. Like people that know me or knew me, I felt like all they saw was like my trauma, because that's how I felt. I felt that they saw me overcome, they saw me be resilient, but they just saw me in a state of just always being traumatized. And now that I've like overcome all these things, and I'm like, I don't even want to focus or center like my life on, or my stories or my podcast like on my trauma. If I do, I want to put it in the context of how can we use that to turn it into like action? How can we use that to turn it into like the things that we need to look at and like choose differently? How can we choose even when we think we can't? Like how do we like leverage autonomy? How do we leverage the choices that we can and cannot make? You know? And even if we can, like even if you think you don't have a choice, there's always something that you can choose. And in my story, like autonomy means so much to me. And that's why I named my page My Alchemy, because it's like I've always given my all, even if it was like 10%. Like I gave everything of 10%. I gave more than I thought that I had, like than I thought that I knew. And so, you know, I think one of the first episodes that I want to make about my podcast is actually today. And I want to call it Reality Isn't Kind, but it's the truth that I can accept. And, you know, radical acceptance has helped me a lot with everything. You know, I know on my page I've put that I'm neurodivergent, like, you know, I've been misdiagnosed. There's biases that intersect with like my race, my gender, the things that I've gone through. People try to put me into like all these boxes because they feel that, you know, if I can just categorize her, then, you know, I'll know where to put her. But for me, and I'm not the only person like this, is that when you've been through like complex layered things, a lot of times your personality or your presentation of who you are is not fixed. And people want to put you in this one spot because they have to. As humans, like we have to be able to define something, and like once we check that box, then it makes sense to us, and then we don't have to like sit there and like have cognitive dissonance about it or feel any kind of way about it. Because, you know, I do that as well. Like I'm sitting over here, I'm just like, well, what is all of this gonna be? Like, what is my trajectory gonna be for my life? Because, you know, I'm the type of person that likes to, you know, I don't know, survive. And I had to realize that unfortunately, me having to choose to survive, I had to say parts of my story, or else I would be invisible and I wouldn't have made it. I had to make some things known because people needed to be held accountable, you know? And I think for me, like realizing that that put a target on my back just to be like, hey, you know what? If I don't say this, then I'm not going to have any visibility. I'm not going to have anybody that knew or knows what happened to me. And I'm learning through like my diagnosis of, you know, autism, of complex PTSD, you know, being misdiagnosed with other things, like, and realizing also, when family likes to think that they're helping you by hiding things from you. And then later on in life, I'm just like, well, if I would have known that, like, I could have had a better sense of what choices to make because I would have known that part about myself. And that's why I say I was going to name this first episode Reality Isn't Kind, but it's the truth that I accept. If I would have known, and if people wouldn't have hidden things from me, like, I wouldn't have fought against it. I would have had more time to sit with it. I would have had more time to be like, well, damn, let me just look at this and be like, let me just look at all the things that I've gone through and like pull back on, or like look back on all my experiences. Like, when I got my autism diagnosis, I was like, yeah, no wonder like I struggled with people socially. No wonder I was super ahead in these other things and behind in all these other things. Like, for me, it was mostly just like social and picking up on what people were trying to say to me, how people would like do things, and like the way their phrasing was like being sarcastic, and like they would be like making threats, but like, or not threats, but like making, this is what I'm looking for. They would be like making certain phrases where they were like trying to be funny, or like saying things where it was just like bullying, but I didn't understand at that time that they were doing that. And so I had like delayed processing. Like, it's so much research that I'm doing on like myself, and through me doing research on myself, ironically, I'm able to be like the researcher, the analyst, the system analyst, the peer specialist that I wanted to be. And right now, I'm realizing through like the classes and the certifications that I'm getting, that a lot of times when people go through like severe trauma, there are a lot of juxtapositions on like how they present and like the choices that they make. And then for me, you add in me being a woman, you add me being black, you add me being autistic, you add me being like having complex PTSD, you add all these things to it. It's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And especially a society that doesn't like to hold space for certain things and certain people, if they're not useful to how they feel that they should be useful, then they'll put you on like a certain pedestal that you don't ask for, and then try to knock you off, or you're already at the bottom and you're kind of like oscillating in between like how people see you. So for me, I had to realize like, people find me attractive. Like, people, also like my personality, and the very things that they like, a lot of times those are the things that people end up resenting if they aren't like they're not useful to them, like if they aren't making them feel good. I had to realize that a lot of times, like, certain places and spaces in my life, like, people just wanted me to make them feel good, but when it came down to, the things that I needed, people didn't want to do that for me. It was just like, yeah, whatever, just get over, I guess. But, I need you to give me everything that, because I felt good the other day, when you was talking to me, and, you worked me through it. But, I can't really deal with your shit because, but make me feel good. And a lot of people have lived that life where they have always been there for other people, and it's become one-sided to the point that it becomes like extractive. Like, people just take and take and take it. They like your personality. They like your looks. They like how you make them feel. They like what you do for them. Like, if you have a job, like, are you pulling too much of your weight around? And then when you're like, hey, such and such is not doing that, why am I doing all of this? Then people will call you selfish. But I'm like, what's wrong with being selfish? People like to put the word selfish or self-centered in like a really bad context, but it's this song by Finesse 2 Times, and he's like, it's cool when they do it, but it's a problem when I say like, hey, like, don't do this to me. Because like I said, people have already decided, and this is the reality that I'm realizing, is that people have already decided from their social, like, their social standings and the things that humans have to do as like social creatures to like create some type of order through, how people live life, through their hierarchies and things like that, that this is where I'm going to put you. This is what I'm going to do. We already decided as collectively as like a social group that this is where you belong. And if you get out of pocket, our cognitive dissonance is going to be your problem. and we don't give a fuck because we gotta keep ourselves feeling good about it. Like we gotta do this for us, you know? And I'm learning that through psychology. Like I'm learning that through it's this book I'm reading. It's called Solitude, The Joy of Solitude. And it's been teaching me a lot about the parts about solitude that is super helpful for finding yourself, which is where I'm at right now, but also how solitude can be damaging when you don't have the support that you need. And for me, it's kind of like both. Like, I don't have the support that I need. I don't have the things that other people can do when they're having a bad day. I don't have an advocate to be like, hey, can you help Maya? Can you help her, with this? Or have somebody to necessarily like witness what I'm going through. So for me, because I'm doing so much and I've had to like basically mask myself, and I still do. That's another reality, is that I still got to mask no matter what I want to do. Like at some point I have to mask, you know, like my neurodivergence. Like it has to be palatable to some extent. Or people are just going to be like, they're going to start doing whatever they want as far as like narratives. I mean, it's already there, the narratives are already here, honestly. So, I mean, society has already decided like for people like me, what they want to do, which is like, she weird. If she don't have family, then there's something wrong with her. If she doesn't have friends, there's something wrong with her. If she says this, then she's unstable. When I honestly had to learn like so much about myself to the point that it feels like I'm going through puberty again. It feels like I'm growing up again because I am. I think I've had to live so many lives because I lost so much, and it was kind of like I lost my life 1,000 times. Because if you think about it, I did. Like there was so many lives that I've lived. There's so many things that I've tried to like start, and I stopped because the way society is made is that they don't want you to, and when I say they, it's not like there's a group of people and like in masks or like hoods or whatever, like it's crazy. But what I'm saying is that they, as in like the structures of society, who built them, is what I'm saying when I say they. Or should I just say society? Society does not want you to set too much of a precedent, especially if they've already decided where you belong. If you belong where you belong to society, and then you break out of that, cognitive dissonance is about to break out. People are going to be like, you're doing this, you're hurting me. They're going to make it about them, and they have to be able to take you and put you back. And so the way that they do that is they do that through social behaviors, through, there's so many things, like through lying, through smear campaigns, through, what else? I'm trying to think. Through just so many things, like through ignoring you. Like it's so many like regular schmegular like actions that people do. And I'm learning all of this. And you're like, girl, you didn't know that? And I'm like, I did when I was like a kid, but I think also what I'm learning too is through societal structures, because you're already put in a certain like hierarchy through society, when you're marginalized, you're already like kind of at the bottom. And then your worth in society is based off of how much you can get through. And then depending on how you get through it, are you palatable in the way that you're overcoming your issues? So I'm learning this all while, dealing with like biases, being sheltered, having all these juxtapositions, learning about my health, learning about like my mental health and all these things. And it's like wow, like this is what it is. This is what I had to realize. And I'm learning too that through society, like they overwork so many people so that you don't have the time and the space to really sit down and think about these things. I've made these posts on my page. I think the most recent post I made was about how your family structures can mirror, what you're going through in society, and how through the book that I learned that I'm reading, I think his name is Robert Copeland. He was saying that animals, they have to evolve to fit the environment. And right now, with the late stage, capitalism. I gotta break this up because I'm on TikTok. But they they were saying that you have to adapt certain mindsets in order to thrive in this environment, which is cutting off your emotions, being emotionally unavailable, like compartmentalizing, just always being able to go, go, go. And these are things that are prevalent in this society for better or for worse. And also, I was looking at some other research papers through was it NIH and just other different organizations about the things that they're researching, and they were talking about how there are so many things in society that are becoming normalized, and how is it affecting the people that are living here, and with late stage capitalism, I don't even know if I can say this word, but with the late stage isms, these things have to be like adapted. Like after a certain amount of time living in a society like this, it gets to the point where people don't have to say it. It's already subliminally like in the functioning of society. Like when people are just like, don't be trauma dumping on the internet. It's just like people don't have community. Why don't they have community? Because they have to be, they have to be overworked. Like they have to commit so much time to working, so they don't have time for the family structures. Also, the way that they tell us that we have to structure the family is very rigid. Like, it's either this or that. Like, this is how your family has to be. And everybody doesn't come from a traditional family. And also, they have traditions. Like, they have things that are very much, this is what you're going to do. This is how you should set up your life. This is what a family is. So, when you're trying to work in these spaces, like, and you're trying to figure out, like, what do I need to do? Like, how do I balance all these things? And you're working within these structures, and then you're just like, oh my God, this doesn't work for me. And then you're just like, my body is rejecting it. They're just like, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like bipolar disorder. That sounds like psychosis. Now, some things, or that sounds like, what else have they said? That sounds like depression. That sounds like anxiety. That sounds like hypervigilance. When really, there are times when, people do have those things. I'm not going to sit here and be like, if you got schizophrenia or you got whatever, that means that your body's rejecting society. Like, no, sometimes like you really do. You do have those diagnoses. Like, let's not run away from diagnoses or diagnoses. Let's not run away from those. But at the same time, people are misdiagnosed like really bad. I should know. Like when I started doing my own research and being like, why the heck doesn't all these things that they say is working for me, why don't they work? Number one, I had to realize the family that I was in was not healthy for me. It didn't fit what I needed. I wasn't told what I needed to know about me, so I didn't know who I was. Then what was modeled after me through my family and then through the places that I went to because of what my family taught me, kind of like sounded down that, hey, maybe this is who I am, maybe I am this person. But then every time I would like go low to no contact with these spaces, I found more peace and I found more stability within myself and in my life. So I had to realize I'm just like, I feel like I know myself more than what I was told, or what I was told is not me. It was more so just a reaction to a society and a place, and like my nurturing and just my foundation didn't match. It wasn't working for me. So once I removed myself from these places, I was able to start doing more things for myself. I realized, oh my gosh, I really love doing things for myself. I really love being able to choose. I really love being able to talk to people. I really love being able to learn. I was sheltered but overexposed at the same time. So, then I realized for me not being able to express that, for me having to hold so much in because it wasn't safe for me to reveal these things about myself, my body had to process all of what happened to me. Like, I'm a person that's a trafficking survivor. I'm a person that is that has autism. I'm a person that also is super duper intelligent. I'm a person that's a beautiful girl, like a beautiful woman. Like, I look good. But I'm a person that speaks up and is very straightforward, but I'm kind. But because of those qualities, society is like, hey, remember, you're black. Remember, you're a woman. Remember, like, you were trafficked. So that means that you a 304. Um, remember that you're autistic, so you slow. Remember that, you came from a family and you don't have no family, so something got to be wrong with the fact that you don't have no family. Remember, you survived coming through like a high control religion. So if you left, then and you don't have no family, you still have no friends or no family. Something got to be wrong with you, and not the fact of that our structures in society are not made to support you, so you can't really point the finger. And I realized that the more that I learned about that and the more that I've tried to pull myself back from it, the more that I've begun to like stabilize, like throughout so many different things, like documenting things, talking to my doctors, you know, keeping boundaries with certain people and being like, I'm not doing that. I don't care what you say. This isn't for me. Like, I don't gotta, I don't gotta like dislike you to be like, this isn't for me. I don't have to, bad mouth you in order to be like, hey, what's going on here isn't like for me. It's a compatibility issue and not, oh, I think you're a bad person, but also realizing that at the same time, people will take it personal. Realizing at the same time, people want to make you play this game. Like, whether you want to play the social games or not, you're going to be in the social games of how humans react. And I hate to say games, I hate to say they and stuff like that because it sounds very abstract. Basically, all I'm saying is that as humans, we have social behaviors and that you're pulled into them whether you want them to be, whether you want yourself to be or not. So you have to make a decision when you're living life. Do I want to do this or not? How am I going to do this? Can I sustain this? Like, what do I have now that I can't get back? And what can I accept from that? What am I going to have to do to keep myself safe? What compromises am I going to have to make? Because I think a lot of times what's going on right now is it's a big turn in society. The pendulum is swinging back and forth when there's a lot of dissension going on within like the climate of like other issues, And for me, because of my own story of how I spoke up, and I had to realize through one of the organizations that I'm working with that, I sounded the alarm off, or, what do they call it? Like when you blow the whistle. I realized that those are the types of behaviors that I ended up doing. And I didn't realize it, that for me just being like, hey, I done gone through so much in life. I haven't even begun to live yet. I just started learning about myself and the world. And right when I learned it, then it was just like, oh, the trafficker was like, I found out where you lived. And I was just like, oh my God. And so from there, it was like, help me. And it didn't happen. So, and I was like, well, what's the alternative? You lose your life. And I'm just like, damn, I just started. Like, I just got away from the high control religion I was in. I just got away or like went low contact with my family. I just found out that, I was neurodivergent. I just found out that I've had conditions since I was a kid, but they laid dormant. I just found out like I had different family members that had these conditions as well because I started talking to different people, the few people that I could talk to now. And it was just a lot of confirmation. Like, it was not me just being like, well, I have these things and this is who I am. It was just like, I don't know, but this is what I'm thinking. So let me just try and figure it out. And I'm also realizing too that when you're a person that thinks in like a very expansive way, sometimes the way that you word things can make people think that that's how you feel. For me, I use words in a very descriptive way because my mind is just trying to describe to people, like literally what I'm doing right now is like, I'm trying to describe to you what I mean, because the way that I communicate is not typical, because I'm not a neurotypical, as they say. So a lot of times, my language or the way that I process things, it's taken out of context, because also I don't do things for, social standing. I do things for, clarity and just leaving it alone. But because my brain doesn't work like a lot of other people, which is like, I'm doing this with a motive in mind. I'm doing it because I need to do something for me. For me, when I do things, it's just like, hey, I'm just trying to make this simple. Like, I don't want to do all that. But also, if you want to come in and you want to do something, let's work together. Or you know what, you can do it as long as it makes it easier. But also, if this doesn't work for me and this ends up harming me, I gotta tell you, because you're gonna tell me, hey, I don't want to do this. So if it don't fit me, I can tell you that too. But also, what's the reality? Society will not make space for that yet. They haven't. They are trying to fight so many advocates who are fighting through disability, advocacy, like the trafficking, complex PTSD, like family, like all these different chronic conditions that a lot of people in the chronic illness community are like advocating for. Society is like, oh, that's cute. You got your little signs and you got your little shirts. That's cute. Take this little piece of shit right here. Shut the fuck up. they like shut up, and yeah, don't talk about it no more, because, girl, y'all doing too much. Like, y'all can't work. We can't get extract y'all for labor because y'all sick or whatever. Because like, it's your fault low key for, like, I don't know, being born this way. Because what the fuck y'all got going on? But yeah, nah, take this and be quiet. And it's just like, damn. It's just like, damn. You're like, damn, what did I do? And they're just like, you was born. And I think a lot of times people, like, we're made to internalize that and be like, damn, it's my fault for being born. Like, I'm nothing then. And then people wonder why people, like, take their vitality away from themselves. Like, and it's because there's a lot of things that people don't have to say. It's just within the structures of society where it's subliminal through the way things function. Like, for example, in Black culture, they tell boys all the time, man, what you crying for? Like, stop all that crying and be a man. Like, you ain't a man because you crying. And I'm just like, and then these men grow up and they don't know how to regulate their emotions. This is masculinity to them. And then they're just like, well, damn, like, I'm angry. And then the world is just like, well, hey, you can be angry, but just don't cry. And they're just like, all right. And they just never show their emotions. And it builds up and it builds up. And then these men, they become crash outs. They call them YNs. And the term is funny, but I don't like that. I don't like the fact that, like, they what's what I'm looking for? I don't like the fact that they minimize these men, like people in my family, to just their circumstances. Like, you can't show your emotion as a man, or as a woman. Like, all you need to do is be known for your body, and if you overcome something that was sexual, then you always got to be like easy, or if you use your sexuality, like, it's exploitative, or like you got a motive. Like, you can't just like show off your body, because we don't know how to regulate the fact that if we see somebody's anatomy, that, oh my God, we going crazy. Like, I can't do something because you don't have self-control. Like, so, and even if I'm not doing something for this, it'll still be perceived as that. So you see how even with the man, like, if a man cries, or if he's just like, man, I feel sad, even if he don't cry, they just like, you soft. Or like, they'll be like, oh, he a simp. Or like, they'll be like, yo, you a part of the rainbow community? Like, that's kind of like, bruh, like, what you doing that for? And it's just like, that's not fair. Like, and that's just within the Black community. Do you think about these other like cultures and things like that? And it's just like there's so many different ways that we're all being pulled into like, well, this is what you should be. You know, like this is your fault. Like if you feel this way, then it's your fault. It's your problem. And it's not like that, you know? It's so many things that yes, if we know better, we do better. But also every day we're we're subliminally being pulled back into regression. It's through the entertainment, through the food. Like people don't understand like what you're told every day through songs, through media, through even the food. Like even those types of things can influence your mind, and not like it's sending out signals like do this, do that, but like if you're compromised through like a food that's like making your brain work slower. Like for me, finding out that I most likely have mast cell activation. Like if I'm stressed and my symptoms get worse because of the stress of the fact that I ended up saying some things and revealing some things because I was going to lose my life, but there was no other option, and that I had to choose my life. But society was like, yeah, shut up. You're supposed to be out of here. Like whatever. You're a woman. You're black. We don't care. And I was like, well, I care. And they was just like, yeah, whatever. But if I wouldn't have chose that, like through my massive activation, like you're like, well, how's that related? I'm just like, well, see, you think about all this stress that I'm getting. Some days when I feel really down and I'm just like, all I can eat is boiled chicken and salt. I'm like, for once, I want to feel normal and I want to be able to eat the ramen that I used to eat that used to not make me feel like shit. Sometimes I want to buy the foods and put them in my freezer and store them so that I can eat them one day when I feel better, because, you know, it's hard for me to have to strip my life back to, I just got to eat salted chicken, boiled salted chicken, because my body can't digest things, because gastroparesis or all these other things that I'm having issues with, because I was like, hey, you know, I didn't know about myself. And now that I'm learning about all the things that I was doing and I took accountability for them, society isn't trying to do that with me and trying to help me. And that's when I said, reality isn't kind, but it's the truth that I accept. So how do I accept all these things? Like through the culture that I was saying, like how do the culture that I came from, like seeing the regression, seeing the stagnancy in it, what do I do with that? One of the things that I've learned is that, you know, I can tell people something through like love and consideration, but I can't control how they take it. Also, giving people information doesn't mean that they're going to take it. Also, looking out for people doesn't mean that they're going to take it in the way that you intend. Also, just because you're saying something doesn't mean that people are going to believe you. They can have 1,000 things in front of them that's just like, this is the truth. This is the truth. Like, hey, this is 1 + 1 = 2. They'll be like, yeah, I'm not going to believe that because I need to be comfortable about who I am as a person. The world needs to match my worldview. And guess what? I could do that too. I could do the same shit. I could be like, the world is all bad and everybody's out to get me. And I can have confirmation bias because I need to believe that. And that's what I'm learning. This is why this podcast is so important, because it's like reality isn't kind, but it's the truth that I accept. You know how many things I had to accept about myself? You know how many things that I had to realize about people? You know how many things I have to realize that it will always be a feature of, you know, my life because of who I am? Do you know how hard of a pill that is to just like take? Do you know? And I'm like, people just like, girl, what are you talking about? And I'm just like, this is some existential like realization type shit. When you realize it, like people are just gonna believe what they want to believe. Calling out harm does not keep you safe. Matter of fact, it makes it even more dangerous. You telling people this is my story and this is where I come from doesn't make you safer. You're as safe as the community that you have. And for me, guess what? Who I got that's sustainable and safe for me, that hasn't harmed me in the past and continues to do it and continues to believe what they want to believe. I don't have a neutral person yet. I don't have a person at least from my understanding that I know through my situation, and especially through the organization that I'm talking to right now about, blowing the whistle about what I did, like it's way deeper than that. And I had to realize too that, like I said, with reality, I'm not going to be a perfect victim because society's going to be like, that's a victim. Even though I'm like, I'm a survivor, they're going to be like, she a victim. They're going to see everything that I've gone through, and they're always going to have it in the back of their heads. And so for me, what helps me to anchor that with what I'm going through right now is I just do the shit anyway. I take my classes. I say the things that I need to say. I do the things that I need to do. And I speak up, and I'm just like, whatever it's going to be is what it's going to be. I had to realize a lot of times, because there's other creators like me who are going through these issues. They just have a bigger platform, and they actually have family that give a fuck about them. And for me, I realized that I contacted my family recently because, I don't know what the next steps are going to be. I don't know this. But I do know is that they need to be aware that it's so much worse than what I thought. And, it's the reality of the situation. When you call out things, like people want to make sure that it doesn't get out. And the thing about it is that I've told people from the beginning of my story, which also I'm learning too, people don't care about that. I was like, hey, I wasn't trying to say all this out in public, but because nobody was moving fast enough, and they were disregarding ADA laws, they were disregarding, housing laws, they were disregarding all these things. And I couldn't wait because somebody was threatening my life, and they already was threatening my family, the very family that I protected, the very family that I've always loved, the very family that I was just like, I forgive you, the very family where I was just like, I don't understand what's going on. But it wasn't just the fact of I stayed away from them because they weren't good for me. I stayed away from them to protect them, because the person that was trafficking me said if I told anything or if I did something, he was going to harm them too. And they didn't know how far that it went. They don't know the things that I've seen. I recently told them, I was just like, it's a lot of things I didn't tell y'all because I was just trying to make it through the day. I was just trying to make it. So from there, also I had to realize too, I could still say that and people can know that, but if it doesn't serve how comfortable they're willing to be, then it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. That's when I had to realize, through the EMDR that I took in therapy, through the reparenting of myself, through learning about autism, through learning about if I'm not supported in the way that I need to, I can regress in different ways that can harm me. How dysautonomia, mast cell activation, fibromyalgia, how I was having like pseudo seizures and didn't I didn't even realize I was having convulsive syncope. Like, I didn't realize these things because it was really that bad. And how people will be like, well, you eating the foods that you saying is making you sick. They not knowing that I'm going home feeling like shit, but for like 10 minutes, I could feel like old me, where I could eat the foods without my body like causing me to have really bad reactions. I could take medication that wasn't going to give me a bad reaction. I could, exercise. I could do these things, And guess what's making me feel better right now is the fact that I'm working with my doctors, and they're basically confirming the diagnosis, or not the diagnosis, because I didn't diagnose myself, but just the theories that I had, because I kept like researching it, because I'm just like, hey, like, I'm not thinking about this. Like, I don't want this. Like, literally, I broke out in hives. Like, I was itching, like I was swelling, like I was, getting sick. I lost my hair, like all these things. And if it was really in my mind, it wouldn't get better from me doing physical things and taking medication. But then also when I take the medication, I have a reaction. Like, it's crazy. Like, antihistamines was the game changer. Like, antihistamines, getting my iron infusion was the game changer. Like, eating better things. Like, yes, I'm losing weight, but I'm able to have more mobility. Like, pacing. Pacing is a big part of also ME/CFS, myalgic encephalitis or chronic fatigue syndrome. You know, having post-exertional malaise. Like, even doing this right now is going to give me post-exertional malaise. But guess what? Guess why I'm able to get better? Because I have the iron infusions, because I'm pacing, because I'm following what the doctor says. Drink salt water, bind your abdomen so that you can get the blood flow to your brain. Microdose your medicines. Like, when I had to look up like titration, like all those things, when I started being able to read and focus more, because I started doing the things that actually helps people that have these actual conditions, you know? So that's why I'm getting better. That's why I'm able to dance on live. That's why I'm able to do my hair. That's why I'm able to, go out and talk to people, because guess what? I got an artillery of antihistamines. I'm learning how, literally, I got my salt and my water right here. I got my electrolytes. I had to change the electrolytes that I was drinking. I had to start drinking alkaline water because the Pedialyte wasn't working because it had sugar in it. Because I found out I have CSID. But guess what? The Sucrate was effing me up because I tried to titrate it and it didn't work. Like, it's all a loop of like, everything is proving itself that I have the trifecta of people that have these conditions, mast cell activation, also the circulatory issues, like realizing my grandmothers, they have circulatory issues. They have the same thing. My grandmother had a stroke. My aunt had a stroke. She died from a stroke. Like, realizing my cousin had, she had an endocrine problem, diabetes, like all these things, like, like my grandmother has lupus. Like, it's like, I'm not making this up. There's a genetic component for this, but nobody knew what it was. And remembering that my grandmother, she lost all her hair when my uncle died. Like, she had a trigger. She had a flare up. And I remember she was sick. I remember my aunt was sick. Like, she had digestive issues. So, and these are people that weren't good to me. These are people that, I came from both sides of my family. They are dysfunctional as fuck. But when you do not have certain parameters in place to keep you safe, sometimes your actions, they contradict themselves. And they're just like, well, why would you do that? It's just like, well, somebody gonna know what my story was. Somebody has to know, what I've done to overcome things. So somebody has to know that I tried my hardest. Somebody has to know that if I would have known better, I would have done better. And every time I do know better, I do better. But then it's like I had to change how I do things. Like, for me, I cannot fully go back to what I love now. Like, I always have to keep my distance. And it's not because I prefer it. It's because it's a health reason now. And I remember, like, one of the nurses was saying, like, we got to make, this patient comfortable. And I'm like, if you follow the actual, treatment protocol or the things that actually make me better because it's a medical fact, yes, it will make me comfortable. Not because I want to be comfortable first, because this is a luxury. I'm going to the doctor because I have chronic conditions and I'm just trying to get them out the way. Like, this isn't something that I want to keep doing. I'm trying to wrap this up and get this over with. I'm trying to simplify things. I said this in the beginning of the podcast. I was just like, I'm the type of person that, I like to collaborate with people. If it's a simpler thing that maybe I don't even know, guess what? I'm gonna be wrong. Please tell me, because you know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write that shit down. And if I forget, I'm gonna ask you again, and then I'm gonna tell you, hey, you know what? My brain don't be braining because all these conditions actually like work against my brain and create like brain fog and create memory lapses and going through stress and like realizing how people push against you, you get backlash, and how that's a long-term thing with like calling out things too as well. Like I had to realize, I was like, yeah, like of course I can't think straight. I don't think nobody would be able to think straight. Matter of fact, I don't think nobody would be present. They would be on a t-shirt by now. And I was like, the fuck I'm gonna be on a t-shirt. And I was like, and even if it happens, like at least I did what I had to do for me. And that's where I'm at. That's the reality of where I'm at, where I am. I also have a stutter now. I also have a stutter. Yay to language processing regressions and autism burnout. Oh God. Um, but I'm learning so much about this, like this is a crazy reality, and I remember looking on somebody else's page. They were talking about how when women speak up about SA, that a lot of times it's within the communities that are supposed to be the places where people are trying to, reform or like do the things that help the communities to get better. Like it's very prevalent in those places, right? So I was like, well, that's crazy. But they were just like, it makes sense because a lot of times people want to save people to stop them from saving themselves. And for me, when I was doing my advocacy, I remember it was a form of distraction for me. But for me now, my advocacy is literally through how I'm living my life. Like I understand also another reality too that I'm understanding is that society makes people like me examples, whether we want to be or not. They're just like, speak up if you want to. If you want to, speak up and watch. You're going to be just like that. And that's cruel, but that's reality. And I had to realize as much as I'm an example for an overcomer, I'm an example for how much harder life can be when you're around an influx of people that want to keep their reality over yours. Reality is that so many things are normalized to the point that so many people can't tell the difference between what is real and what is a narrative that's needed for comfort. A lot of us are uncomfortable still while living in a state of let me do this so that I can be comfortable. I'm still doing research on what it means when a society is like ending, and even like the human species, because to me, I remember somebody had said this. They was just like, I'm trying to understand why animals, like they do things like evolutionary wise for, efficiency, and they do things by instinct, but humans are the first, creatures to be able to be aware of what they do and think about it and process it and change it. And I was like, all of that awareness and what the fuck is going on? Domination City. Just we doing shit to each other because we're lacking something in some area and we're not getting it. So we get it through each other. And we get that through harm, through through what we consume. And that's why one of the biggest things, and I don't know if I have it in my bio, but one of my things that I try to do is I try to reduce how much harm I do, but also realizing because of where I'm at in life and because of the caps that are put on me, because, the reality of what has happened to me and how, people, certain people that I know and just family, they can hold you back, and how it's safer for, the harm that I've, dealt with. I'm trying to word it in a way where it's like, more understandable. I guess what I'm trying to say is just in general, we all are capped as people from my culture, and people that are very brilliant thinkers. Is baked into society. So, and that also family can do that too if they're like narcissistic or harmful. But basically, what I'm saying is just from the fact that I spoke up about these things, there is a cap or a like ceiling that, I hit and that people like me hit. And I'm looking at it in like the disability community, right? There's so many like brilliant people. I'm telling so many beautiful, brilliant people that are just building shit from scratch. They're just building shit from scratch. Thank you for liking the live, by the way. They're building shit from scratch. They don't have what I have. Some people don't even have a home. Some people, they don't have this, but they know how to take that pain and make it into something that's the most beautiful shit you will ever see in your life. And then it's always something going on. Like, they'll be like, oh, I'm about to hit the cusp of something. And then you'll get an update from them and they'll be like, yeah, I couldn't do this because I tried to go to this place and get, this thing. And they said I couldn't do it and I'm out of $500. So then they got to go and ask for mutual aid. Like, what? Why are we all on the internet shaking cups? Like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Like, we don't have the community. We don't have the resources. We don't have the sustainability within the disability community and like the intersection of it. Like, and then realizing, guess what? You could be a part of the privileged community and tomorrow something can happen and now you a part of our community. Anybody can be a part of the community. Like, stop playing. I wish people would stop acting like they're invincible. Like, you're human. You're human. So what I'm saying from all of this is these are all the realities that aren't kind to me, but it's the truth that I accept. There will always be just a certain thing that follows you. You can say whatever you want to say, but once it's set in the group that you're in the society that you're in, whatever place you're going, you're attending, it could be work, it could be school, it could be whatever. Once it's decided, it is so hard to shake that off. And so you have to decide, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to compromise? How can I reduce harm, if that's even what you give a fuck about? There's so many people that don't give a fuck about that. They don't give a fuck. That's the reality. They're just like, whatever, I don't care. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like, let's do whatever. Like, let's run it up. And I understand that. That comes from the very things that I'm talking about that I've been through in my life. Everybody does not adapt to life the way that I do, the way the next person does. What I'm going through doesn't make me special. What I'm going through is not unheard of. Like, the type of person that I am, I'm similar to a lot of people. Like, I'm not something that's like, oh my God, it's so, like, oh my gosh, she's so brilliant, she's so other, she's so beautiful that I don't know. Like, I don't think of myself that way. Like, I look like so many people. Like, my face and who I am and my essence is so familiar, but it's not because I'm me. Like, I'm unfamiliar in a way that the way that my traits line up and the way that I present is my special sauce. Like, you know how they used to say things like, it's a million loaves of bread in the aisle, but your brand is your brand. I'm just another brand of loaf of bread. And I just got something in it that's just my own thing. Everybody has like their own motion. I always say this all the time. Like, everybody has their own motion. Everybody has their own thing that makes them. It makes them unique. And a lot of times, like, people like to use that to make you feel like you're the only one. We're not the only one in the struggle, but you're the only one in that you're you. And I had to realize too that it can make you like overly like aware of things, and then you could be like consumed with it. And so for me, I had to realize like putting all this together, this whole thing together, you know, life be life and real bad. Like it be like it got hands for real. And when you don't know certain things, you can't do better. Like you don't know another choice. If all you have is like the lesser of the evils, all of it shitty, how much better can your life get because of the environment that you're in, the people that you know, how much money you have? What are your choices, because the choices that you had to make were terrible, but the only better choice you had kind of led you to a less terrible? It's kind of like you low key are boxed in. I think that's another reality too, is that if you're not palatable in the way that you say things and the way that you do things, and that if you can't lose a certain part of yourself and it will fundamentally like break you down, like once you choose it, and that you can't choose it, like you can't undo it, then you have to accept this is the way your quality of life is going to be. And I think that's why so many people use subs. Like they want to numb themselves to that pain, because we have control over certain things, but there's also a lot that we cannot control, a lot that we can't stop, a lot that we know deep down inside, like, yo, this is it. That's why I say reality isn't kind, but it's the truth that I accept. You know, I realize that a lot of narratives are going to stick. I realize that also, too, everything isn't about narratives. Everything isn't about what people think about me. Like, everything isn't, I got to look behind my shoulder all the time. But also, I had to look over my shoulder because I had someone that was trying to end me. And they threatened me. They threatened my family. I was trying to keep my family safe. My family didn't realize that I was doing it because I loved them, but also I knew that they were harming, they were part of the harm too. Like, absolutely, I made choices. Absolutely, it didn't make sense to me. Absolutely, it don't make sense to a lot of people. Absolutely, even right now, I still don't make sense to a lot of people. Absolutely, there are some times where I can do more, like I can dance, I can I can eat some foods and tolerate it, because maybe for the past 3 days I was in the house and I didn't go to disappointment because it was a source of stress for me, and I like, you know, held back, or not held back, but I like avoided that appointment to like lessen the baseline of how much my body was going to have a trigger from the stress, and I was able to tolerate this food today. And I had to realize too, I have a dynamic disability. My disability is not fixed. It's not like if you do this, it's always going to be like this. You know how many times I done some shit and I'm like, damn, I could tolerate that? Like when I was on a live like last week, I was like, damn, I was able to dance like this? And then I did it again. I was like, damn, I didn't know. I was like, damn, I thought I was going to be fucked up. And I was, though, the next day. The next day, I slept for a long ass time, for a long periodically amount of time. And guess what? Guess what's making me better? Listening to the specialist, taking the medication, but microdosing the hell out of it. You know, documenting everything, making sure that people know I'm not trying to fight you, bruh. I'm not. I'm just trying to get this over with. But also realizing too, there's things that need to be believed, because my therapist, she was like, people have absolutely mishandled the fuck out of you. Like even the nonprofit that I got my first grant from, they was like, you can have the most egregious of cases and still not get what you want. That is reality. That is a reality that isn't kind, but it's the truth that I accept. You know, radical acceptance. So I had to realize all that. I had to realize that people are going to believe what they want to believe. I had to realize that people are going to do what they need to do for them. I had to realize that people don't always care about how kind you are if it's not working for them, if it's not useful to them. If it's making you grow and they've already decided you need to stay below, they're like, yeah, fuck your kindness. Like, fuck that. I need this for me. Like, I ain't sorry for real. Like, you gotta be here for me to be all right. So that's what I'm learning. I'm hoping that I can have more podcasts, because what I want to do is I want to talk about like the things that I'm learning in like my books. So this, I'm so glad my cousin bought me this, because this book is like one of the best books I've ever read. But there's so many more books. Excuse me. Ooh, there's so many more books that I want to read about like integrative medicine. There's all the books that I've checked out. Now I want to buy them. And through my TikToks and through the people that have given me like gifts and things like that, and because I've drawn like boundaries, which I'm learning through the other organizations I'm working with, like, I have to have these boundaries to keep myself safe. That's why people be like, where are you from? I don't owe you that information, because also I can't say that information, because also I don't know, from me speaking up about my situation, who is still trying to make sure that certain things don't get out. But also, like I said, which I know that some people still don't care about, I was never trying to make it public. So, I'm here now, and it's just, I'm realizing this. So this is context for certain things that I may allude to, but certain things that I'm not talking about anymore. So this is my background as a survivor, as an overcomer, as a person that has been mishandled, as a person that has been mislabeled, as a person that has been misdiagnosed, as a person that also is accountable, and the same accountability that I hold myself to, I realize that I hold other people to, and everybody's not for that. I remember somebody asked me, they said, if you had a warning label for somebody, what would you say? And I said, my warning label would be like, if you know me, then I'm going to force you to change for better or for worse, And that's because that's how I've done for me. Like, when I had to realize my life and the way that things happen to me can make me like really look at people sideways and like be a recluse and stay to myself, I was like, yeah, how do I combat that being on live? How do I love my body again after somebody basically desecrated it? Dress the way I want to. How do I do that after somebody disregarded my no? Somebody say, where you from? Don't tell them where the fuck I'm from. If somebody say, if somebody say anything, how do I get my autonomy back? I don't owe you that. Like, the fact that I'm on live is enough. The fact that I'm being visible is enough. The fact that I'm living is enough. I remember somebody else said this too, because there's so many people that, like I said, what I say is not original. Somebody said we can start putting things together for change in the world, but if it doesn't start at home, if you can't through your family or through your friends, like, basically facilitate well-rounded conversations, holding people accountable, not through perfection, but just through trial and error, and leaving space and leaving nuance, but also being able to hold people accountable, and just the balance that it takes to do that. If we can't do that, then how are we going to do even like the most of the further things? So for me, I was like, I've always lived as a person that was a disruptor. And that's not something I asked for, but unfortunately, like I said, the reality of the situation is that's how society sees me. They see me, they see me as somebody that is a lot of things, but I say things that people don't always want to think about. I point out things that people don't want to face, because that's how I had to grow. And I realized too that I can't put the way that I grow on everybody else, But also, society cannot put on me how they think that I should grow and then pathologize it. But they're going to do that. And I'm going to do that too, even if I don't realize it. So that's why the biggest thing for me is reduction of harm, reduction of patterns of behavior, reduction of how much I'm going to sit here and talk about this shit over and over again. Like, I get tired of talking about my life, but context matters. Context matters. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get some people that want to come on my podcast and be guests. And because it's not just going to be about life and overcoming, but I also want people to share their music, to talk about the things that they've done to get better. And it's not just for the girlies, which, where the girlies at? Where the girlies at? Because also I had to realize too that through my presentation, men are coming to my page. There's an algorithmic bias. There's an institutional bias. There's a societal bias that if you look good or if you have a certain backstory, there are certain people that'll come to the page and they'll be like, let me try it. That's just the way humans are. So I had to realize all that. It's like, how do I want to dress this day to, get a certain like vibe or feel? Like, do I feel like being more open with my body today? Do I feel like being more open with my personality today? Do I feel like being open with both? But do I know that when I do that, I got to be very adamant about this ain't that. It's not what you think. It's not what you want. This is not a environment or a platform for, certain behaviors that are provocative. Like, this is not a provocative environment. Yeah, I know that I might be showing my belly button, but also if I'm showing my belly button, just know that I'm going to tell you, if you ask me a question or you say some stuff, I'm going to block you. Or, it's like I have to know that it's going to grab that type of attention, Like, the most dangerous thing for me was not that I'm not a beautiful woman. It was to believe that I wasn't. Like, when I was believing in, some people, I'm ugly, or like people don't find my presence like comforting. It was making me think that people were doing things for other reasons, and that wasn't keeping me safe. Like, if I know more information about, like social things and like people and why they do what they do, I can make better decisions, right? So that's the whole point. Reality isn't kind, but it's the truth that I accept, because it can help me to keep myself safer, because the reality is I haven't been safe, and it's a big part of my life that I realize that I'm only as safe as I can fight for myself to be. But that's why I'm glad that I've gotten the mobility. I'm glad that I've spoken up. I'm glad that also I said what I needed to say. Like, I wasn't trying to do this, but also I'm glad that I'm realizing that people don't care now that it's out there. They don't care. It was just the fact that I put it out there in the first place. So now I have to realize there's consequences to it. So me being, radically honest is not the safest thing, but the other things that I have to do that I looked at, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, there's a big push. And I remember somebody said it, like, I think it was my cousin. She was like, why don't you just sell feet pictures? And I'm just like, why would I want to do that from somebody that literally I was trafficked? Like, that's a slippery ass slope, like, that's why I had to say on my page, if you give me a gift, it ain't no provocative shit. Like, give me a gift because you like my vibe, not because you waiting for your chance, because it's not going to happen. That's why I cut shit out. But also, this is my form of exposure therapy, low key. is how can I handle people that want to try me? Cuz they try anything. Like people will try anybody if they can. And also the reality is that people can pick up on vulnerabilities that are unspoken. So anyway, that's what I had to realize. That's what I had to realize. I had to realize a lot of things. I had to realize a lot of shit about just life. So, I say all this to say, I hope I get some more people that will like vibe with this and realize that they're not alone in what they think. That this is a safe space, and if they want to join or they want to be a guest, hit me up, DM me, email me. I'm happy to do this. Even if I don't, I'm just happy to just make this portion of the podcast. But yeah, this is my alchemy, and we're all alchemists in our own way. It just depends on how we use our alchemy. Like, are we using it for regression, for stagnancy? Are we using it for our comfort? Is it strictly within what we need for ourselves, or is it a mixture of both? What is it that we want to leave? And for me, I feel like my greatest legacy, and even then, that's still not enough. But I feel like just as much as I got going on for me, like the improvements that I'm making, I feel like my greatest legacy is the present. Because, like, when I'm gone, and I realized this with the singer Aaliyah, we don't know her like that because she was very private and she was beautiful. And I think the reason why people can't reconcile with her story is because she was beautiful. It didn't save her. She had family. They didn't save her. She had money. It didn't save her. She was doing her job. She was on her way up. And she was doing the things. She was doing everything she was supposed to do. But it was just that the way things happened to her, it didn't keep her safe, and she really didn't have too many other choices because all the choices that was given to her, somebody else took them from her. And even then, she fought to she was like, I'm just going to do my job and go to work and get on this plane, and she was gone. And a lot of times, people want to think that beauty saves you, that doing all the right things saves you, being kind saves you. Not being kind saves you. Fighting saves you. Having something to protect you saves you. Nope. Sometimes it only prolongs the inevitable, which is we all end up losing our vitality and we all gotta go. But some people just make it happen faster. No matter what the fuck you do. And that shit sucks. That shit sucks. It's really terrible. So how are we going to use our alchemy? How are we going to use our own our own way of living? How are we going to continue to do that? And that's what I want to explore through my podcast. I want to talk about guitar. I want to talk about so many different things. Even if I never get to do the things that I need to do, I know I can check out a book. I know that, I can sew. I know that I can learn about my conditions. I know that that's my way I can be a researcher. Even if I never get a chance to go to school and do that. I know that I can still research in my own way. I could low key, I'm doing the things that I need to do. I'm being the scientist. I'm using integrated medicine. I'm just using my own body to, work with my doctors. I'm collaborating with my doctors, which I'm so glad that they've been validating, so many different things. But, yeah. If somebody would have told me, if a 6-year-old me would have been would have seen, would be seeing what I'm going through, she would be really upset, but she would think that I'm like the strongest person that she knows, because she would see me being like no and being like, who was you talking to? Like, I don't talk like that to people, but people like to try with me, so I'd be like, yeah, no, that was cute, but no. Like, I see what you did, I see what you tried. Like, you tried it, but no, absolutely not. Like, I'm respectfully decline. I don't like to crash out because I'm not an angry person. I don't like to fight. I'm not a fighter. The only time I've ever done that was when I was being abused and I had to fight back. I was dealing with a very like manipulative and abusive person and people. Those are the very few times I ever did something like that. And also, I did not. I'm not a person that likes to yell. I'm not a yeller. Even when I'm like overstimulated and I'm dealing with like sensory problems, and I'm like, my cat is like trying to, because he has anxiety too because of what I've been going through. So he's been feeling it because we're super duper bonded. He has anxiety. It's just like, bro, because he was going through the shit with me. He was going through this shit with me. And so, poor little thing, he has gastrointestinal disease too. Like, when I first got him, they said he had it. But I'm like, not both of us having gastro, like, girl, stand up. But anyway, he, just from me dealing with the sensory overload sometimes, like, when I get irritated and he's just trying to regulate through me, sometimes I'll be like, I done fed you, you got food, you got a roof over your head, you got toys, what more do you want? I'm like, oh my God, I sound like my family when they're just like, I didn't give you food, I didn't give you this, what more do you want? I'm just like, oh God. So then I'll try to like give him something. I'll be like, look, you just gonna have to regulate yourself, because look, I can't give it to you right now. So it helped me to have more understanding for certain things, but at the same time though, it helped me to realize why some shit that happened to me, like why a lot of shit that happened to me was out of pocket. Because I'm like, throughout all of this, I'm just like, yeah. And I still wouldn't have done that, or I still wouldn't have allowed what happened then to happen. So anyway, I'm saying all this to say, that's the way I'm using my alchemy. My alchemy. People say my alchemy, same thing, or my alchemy is really like the best thing to say, because it's like my alchemy, my all, give it my all. That's how I use my alchemy, is through my efforts and through me showing people who I am. Is it safe? No. But what else is there left for me to do at this point? Be a crash out? No. I don't like crashing out, because that's not who I am. That's a response. That's not my personality. That's a response. I don't like to, be angry. I don't like to keep rehashing things, because that's not who I am. That's a response. So I had to realize, like, what kind of decisions am I going to make? What's going to be my alchemy? What's going to be my alchemy? So, but yeah, this is the first episode. Thanks for watching. It's 1:00 in the morning. That's crazy. Yeah, this is what we got so far. So yeah, but yeah, thanks for watching. I'm gonna go now. I had my nap for today, so I'm probably gonna stay up a little bit. But yeah, that's what we got here. Thanks for watching. And hope y'all join me for the next one. So I'll see y'all later. Bye.